Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Okay guys, I'm back again for video number 2. It is August 3rd, Monday, and it is 10:33 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I have already recorded a video and uploaded it. It's in the process of being processed by YouTube, and we all know how long that takes. Anyway, hopefully it will be available soon, and while we're waiting on that, I'm just going to go ahead and do another video. Hey, why not? All right, so let's just skip over here to the news, and we're going to pick up right from where we left off. I thanked people in the last video, so I don't need to do that again. And we're just going to pick up from where I left off. Now, some of this is a couple days old, but it's still really, pertinent news. So we'll just kind of pick and choose here. All right. Now, let's look at this one first. You're probably going to have, well, I was going to say you'll have a hard time believing this, but no, you won't. I don't know. I shouldn't underestimate you guys, because I think you know exactly what's going on with people like Maxine Waters. Trump is responsible for the deaths of those who didn't wear masks. Yes, it's all Donald Trump's fault, apparently. Everything's his fault. Even the things that aren't his fault, they're still his fault. All right, well, let's take a listen to this, and I'll make it bigger for my tiny phone people, because I really do love my tiny phone people.
States need the help of their federal government. The federal government should come to the aid of our states and our cities and do everything that we can to assist these families, to make sure there's food on the table, to make sure that our small businesses can remain a business even after this pandemic. So I think that the federal government should be a government that the people can rely on. This president has absolutely failed in his responsibility to ensure that everything was being done to assist our families. First of all, the president rolled out what is a hoax. Secondly, he
never
rolled
said
out
that.
It's going to disappear. And then he said, hydroxychloroquine was going to be the medicine that was going to cure everything. He even suggested that we should be taking disinfectant. He has been so irresponsible, and I think that has been confusing. And for those people who like him and support him and believe in him, many of them have followed him. Mm-hmm. And in following him, it took all of this time for him to finally come around to saying that masks were important and masks should be worn. And I want to tell you, a lot of people will not worn those masks because their president didn't wear them and told them that it didn't make any difference, are probably dead now, and he's responsible for it.
Right, they're all dead. They didn't wear a mask, so they're all dead. Yep. And what the heck is this around her neck? It looks like a dog collar. It looks like she needs a leash snapped onto there. I mean, seriously, it looks so tight. What is the deal with her? Anyway, I don't think this woman is well. I really don't. I think that she has, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about her, to tell you the truth. I really don't, because she's so bizarre. She went around there, remember, all she would say was, impeach 45, impeach 45. Yeah. Saturday on MSNBC, Representative Maxine Waters accused President Donald Trump of being responsible for the deaths of people who did not wear a face covering and contracting coronavirus. Again, this is not well written. I don't know what happened to the editors, but I suspect that when we find them, they'll all be together somewhere. Waters said the federal government should come to the aid of the states and the cities and do everything we can to assist these families, to make sure there's food on the table, to make sure that our small businesses can remain a business after this pandemic. So I think that the federal government should be a government that the people can rely on. This president has absolutely failed in his responsibility to ensure that everything was done to assist our families. And what has she done? I'm just kind of curious, because she's been in politics, like forever. And her district's a mess. So what has she done? Really? I'm just asking for a friend, you know. First of all, the president rolled out it is a hoax, and then he secondly rolled out that it is going to disappear, and then he said, you know, hydroxychloroquine would be the answer, but it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't, because they made sure it wasn't. She continued, so all of those who followed him, it took all this time to come around to say that masks were important and should be worn. I will tell you, a lot of people were not wearing the mask because their president didn't want to wear them and told them that it didn't make any difference and are probably dead now, and he's responsible for it. Yes, I'm sure that everybody that fails to wear a mask just drops dead. And yes, it's all President Trump's fault. So I guess we're all clear on that now. Let's go on to something that makes sense. Alrighty, so let's look at this. And I'm sure you are all aware that hang on 1 second. Okay. Now, I'm sure you're all aware that in Pakistan, if you commit blasphemy, which is, I guess, against Allah, then you will be charged with blasphemy and killed, which is what happened to this American accused of blasphemy. He was shot dead in a Pakistani courtroom. So let's look at this. Tahir Ahmad Naseem, a U.S. citizen in Pakistan facing accusations of blasphemy against Islam, was shot and killed in a Peshawar courtroom Wednesday morning. Naseem was originally taken into custody back in 2018 after he was accused of claiming to be a prophet, which is considered a serious crime under Pakistan's strict blasphemy laws, according to the Washington Post. The shooting took place around 11:30 a.m. local time during Naseem's court hearing at a courtroom in the city of Peshawar in northwestern Pakistan, The Guardian reported. Lawyer Zahid Zahir was in the building when he heard the shot go off. He then rushed to the scene. When he arrived, he claimed that Naseem appeared to have been shot in the head once, the New York Post reported. What was unsettling to Zahir is how the gun used to kill Naseem made it past security. Yeah. Naseem was shot 6 times, Fox News reported. This is not the first death to occur in Pakistan based on blasphemy claims. In 2019, Asia Bibi, an illiterate Christian woman, was released after being imprisoned and sentenced to death for blasphemy for 8 years, according to the Washington Post. The State Department issued a statement on Naseem's death on Thursday. We are shocked, saddened, and outraged that American citizen Tahir Naseem was killed yesterday inside a Pakistani courtroom. Mr. Naseem had been lured to Pakistan from his home in Illinois by individuals who then used Pakistan's blasphemy laws to entrap him, the statement read. The U.S. government has been providing consular assistance to Mr. Naseem and his family since his detention in 2018 and has called the attention of senior Pakistani officials to his case to prevent the type of shameful tragedy that eventually occurred. We grieve with the family of Mr. Naseem. We urge Pakistan to immediately reform its often abused blasphemy laws and its court system, which allow such abuses to occur, and to ensure that the suspect is prosecuted to the full extent of the law. So there you go. That's very, very sad. It's just, we're fortunate that we live in America, but America seems to be the last vestige of freedom, and it is very, very much under attack here as well. So I think that is very sad that he died. He was obviously entrapped. So, yeah. All right, and let's go on, because we can, and let's look at this. Police find van full of spike strips, stun guns, and improvised explosives at riot. Police make disturbing discovery at riot. Watch for this in your city. Absolutely. Now, this is what they found. There aren't a whole lot of innocent applications for bear mace? No, there isn't. We do have it up here because we have bears. There are bears right in my region, and you don't want to mess with them, especially during mating season. Don't get close to those mother bears or you're toast. So anyway, yeah, but there aren't a lot of innocent applications for bear mace, unless, of course, you are in the woods and hiking and need it for your protection. But, and like they said, all of the innocent applications for bear mace, involve bears. Spike strips, meanwhile, have a peaceful use. If you're a law enforcement officer and trying to stop a car, yeah, they can come in pretty handy. Fireworks and nails have peaceful applications, of course. However, when they're found in combination with the first two, the tendency is to believe that their application probably doesn't involve a pyrotechnic celebration after you fix up the deck. All of which is to say that while mostly peaceful protests in the Pacific Northwest have gotten plenty of digital media inches, although no attention has been paid to a van during a riot in Seattle last Saturday in which authorities found all of these things. How many bears do you have roaming around Portland? I'm just wondering. According to a police, and that bear mace, that's a heck of a lot stronger than pepper spray or anything else. That stuff's brutal. It's meant to stop a bear. Anyway, all of which is to say that, okay. According to a police news release on Wednesday, a search warrant carried out on a van seen in the vicinity of a July 25th riot in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, where trailers were torched, cars were vandalized, and a Starbucks was trashed. In the last instance, a fire was set in the coffee shop, which was below residential units. So much for the whole argument about the more aggressive element of the protesters only damaging property and not putting innocent lives in danger. The demonstration, as the Seattle Times reported, was organized by the Youth Liberation Front in solidarity with similarly placid rioting in Portland, Oregon. The damage was mostly confined to the Capitol Hill district, best known as the home of the so-called Chaz Chop lawless autonomous zone, where protesters occupied blocks for weeks with little interference from Seattle authorities. The van, police said, was spotted behind some of the rioters just before some of the destruction happened. At approximately 4:25, officers observed a van following the protesters as they marched northbound on 12th Avenue. The van then stopped outside of the East Precinct, the news release stated. The van was abandoned in the street, facing northbound in the southbound lane. At about the same time, explosions occurred outside the precinct. Individuals in the crowd threw explosives at officers. One explosion occurred along the north wall of the precinct on Pine Street, which blew a hole in the wall of the building. But, it was a peaceful hole. Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best told reporters during a Wednesday news briefing that the same van had been spotted earlier in the day by a witness. At that time, the van had its rear doors open and gas masks, pyrotechnic devices, baseball bats, gas masks, improvised shields, and other items not typically seen at a peaceful protest were visible to the witness, according to the police. The van was impounded once police determined it wasn't rigged to explode. Detectives applied for and obtained a search warrant and searched the van. The news release stated detectives located fireworks, pyrotechnics, bear mace, improvised spike strips, and nails. In addition, detectives also located gas masks, shin guards, helmets, and other body armor, homemade shields, and other items. These are just a few of the items found during the search. No one has been arrested in connection with the van. More of the items found during the search were displayed by police. During Wednesday's press briefing, Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan, this woman has the IQ of cabbage. While emphasizing the usual bromide that most of the protesting has been peaceful, right? Yeah, just like I said, they blew a peaceful hole in the building. I guess they wanted to air it out peacefully. Said that some protesters were well organized with this kind of destructive power. We have been in an unprecedented time in our city, Durkan said at the news conference, and one of the unprecedented things we're experiencing is the historic civil rights reckoning, not just in Seattle, but in this country. Peaceful protests are good for America and good for our city. Yes, and blowing a hole in the side of a precinct is wonderful for a city. Oh, nothing gets the morale up like a good fire. Yeah. They push us to be better. They are the core tenet of who we are as a country. Yes, I'm sure that people driving by all those burned out buildings with the glass smashed, with, everything looted, I'm sure they said, you know what? This is good for our city and good for America, and it's pushing me to be a better person. I'm sure that's what everybody stated as they drove by. However, she noted that arson, destruction, and violence have occurred, and they undermine the push and need and voice for systemic change. Durkin also pivoted to President Donald Trump, saying that through violence, protesters were sowing those divisions that the president wants and playing right into his hands. Right, it's the president that wants all this violence and all this damage to our country. Right, okay. The kind of people who are going to bring bear mace to a protest don't care about making Mayor Durkin's political point, however. True, and I doubt that there were any bears roaming around that night in Portland. Or really, I doubt it. I'm just saying. Or Seattle, or wherever. Minneapolis. I've never seen bears right in the city. Have you? Anyway. Bear mace, Seattle Police Sergeant James Lee noted, lasts much longer than the type of pepper spray that police use and is much stronger. It is not safe for use on humans. No. And it makes bears mad too. So really, don't use it. It makes bears mad. Like, they don't like it. Seriously. And as soon as they can see, they will run and rip you to shreds. In fact, one of their claws can disembowel you in one foul swoop. And that is the truth. I'm sorry, it's graphic, but it's true. All right. Seattle, okay. Seattle had recently banned its officers from using any kind of pepper spray, although that legislation was enjoined from being put into effect the day before the protests in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. There's a certain kind of naivety in believing, as liberal politicians like Durkin seem to, that these protest movements are triggers they can ride atop and direct to their own political ends. She seems to truly believe that scolding those who would fill a van with improvised implements of destruction, telling them that they're playing right into Trump's hand, is going to get them to fall in line. Yeah, I don't think so. Don't think so. This was the exact. Look at this. Look at this sentence. This was exactly what she said. See, I'm telling you, there are no editors left. Can nobody write anymore? Like, really? Seriously. That was exactly what she said about Chaz Chop, something she called like a block party, which she hoped would blossom into a summer of love. Yeah, nothing says love like a bullet. With the right rhetoric, she seemed to figure a violence-prone element of the far left, one that doesn't respect private property or rule of law, could somehow be coerced into becoming happy warriors for the progressive cause. Yeah, Police Chief Best, as has been her wont, was again the voice of reason, telling reporters at the media briefing this was evidence that not everyone who comes to these protests are peaceful. Peaceful protesters do not show up in a van full of explosives. No, I suspect not. Nor do they take over entire neighborhoods and turn them into lawless autonomous zones or occupied protests. Mayor Durkin didn't learn her lesson with Chaz Chop, though, and she certainly doesn't seem to have internalized it here either. No, cabbages don't have a lot of processing capabilities. That's what she is. She's a cabbage. All right. Let's go on now, shall we? Of course we shall. Why wouldn't we? Let's look at this, shall we? I think I might have covered this. No, I didn't. Bakery manager sacked for using own bank card to help elderly customers blocked from paying with cash. Now, remember we had that article, I don't know, it was one of the last few videos anyway, that this elderly woman, she was in her 90s and they wouldn't sell her bread because they said her money was dirty. And Yeah, well, this bakery manager got fired because she was using her own bank card to help the elderly customers who were blocked from paying with cash. And a lot of the real elderly don't use bank cards. They don't understand them. My mother always asked me, like, she understands just the basics of a bank card, but she doesn't understand, like, well, how do you deposit with it? How do you, because that's just not from her generation. I was just trying to do the right thing, says Megan Metcalf, who worked at Bird's Bakery for over 40 years, a long-serving manager of a bakery that has been fired for gross misconduct because she has been accepting cash from elderly customers without bank cards and using her own debit card to pay. Megan Metcalf, 60, has worked for Bird's Bakery in Radcliffe-on-Trent, Nottinghamshire, for 44 years and served as store manager for 25 years until her dismissal. The bakery chain, which has dozens of branches across the Midlands, is one of the many businesses to have imposed a card-only policy for payments to minimize any risk to staff and customers during the coronavirus pandemic. But many customers who visited the business were elderly and did not own bank cards, Ms. Metcalf told Nottinghamshire Lives. Not wanting to turn them away, Ms. Metcalf paid for their goods using her own debit card, showed them their receipt, and asked the elderly customer to put their cash payment into her purse. She understood her actions were against company policy, but said there was no way she could let her elderly customers walk away, telling them they could not buy it because they didn't have a card. The customers had already handled the items, which would have had to have been binned or cleaned, she added. Ms. Metcalf told the local news website she took around £180 in cash and paid for them using her own card and kept receipts of the transactions. But Bird's dismissed Ms. Metcalf after learning of her actions and holding a disciplinary hearing. I was just trying to do the right thing, she was quoted as saying. I'm really upset by it, of course. I was told I was endangering staff members' lives by doing what I did. She said the cash never exchanged hands as the customers would put it straight into her purse. I should not have done it, but I don't like to let people down, and a lot of these customers depend on us coming to us every day. News of Ms. Metcalf's sacking has sparked a backlash against the business, with some pointing out that she helped vulnerable customers to essential food items. Over 6,000 people have signed a petition calling for the company to reinstate her and arguing kindness was not a sackable offense. The GMB union has also condemned the company's decision, calling it outrageous. I would tend to agree. National Officer Roger Jenkins said in a statement, sacking a shopkeeper for helping elderly customers with no access to cashless payment is beyond outrageous, but it illustrates the terrible damage that would be done to people's lives if we allow cash to wither and die. Aside from the impact on the elderly and vulnerable, it would wreak havoc on the small and medium enterprises that rely on cash transactions. Bird's Bakery said it was aware of the petition, but noted its card-only policy was put in place after overwhelming response from their staff at the start of the pandemic, stating they preferred not to touch banknotes and coins. Well, nobody was asking them to. Nobody was asking the other staff members to handle anything. The customers were putting it straight into this woman's wallet, and she was paying for their items with her cash card. How is that unsafe for anyone? In a statement, it added, our card-only policy was not to be taken lightly. We have the safety of our staff and customers. We take the safety of our staff and customers very seriously and have very tight procedures in place during this continuing pandemic. We are sorry that so many people are upset about Megan Metcalf's dismissal from Bird's, but she contravened our health and safety policy, and we took that very seriously. Bird said Ms. Metcalf would not be reinstated, but wished her well in her new role working in a care home. Now, what do you guys think about this? Because I think it's outrageous. They want people's business, but a lot of elderly people don't have bank cards. Like, even around here, they've had to kind of what do you call that? Change a little bit. I mean, the word was right at the tip of my tongue and it's gone. But anyway, yeah, they've had to modify it. Modify it a little bit because yes, most younger people, or even, my age, can pay with their bank card, but elderly people don't like to use their bank card. Like my mom and people of her age get the cash out of the bank every week, and they keep that cash to pay for all their purchases during the week. That's what they do. And now some of these places are letting up, and they might have just one register where you can pay cash at, which, that's fine. But it's not right. It's not right for the elderly, because they don't get it, really. A lot of them don't understand. Excuse me. My gosh, where did that come from? A lot of them don't understand bank cards and all that. And a lot of them, especially people that have come through the Great Depression, they don't trust banks at all. So, using a bank card, it's just, they would much rather handle it. All right. Tell me what you guys think, though, if you think that she should have been fired or not, because maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't think she should have been. All right, let's go on now. Why? Because we can. And this from the Federalist Papers. Let's see how long we've been going here. We have been going for 26 minutes, so we still have time. All right. Now, what happened here? I don't know where my cats are. I haven't seen them for a long time. They must be off snoozing quietly somewhere. I haven't even heard them make a noise. Teachers move goalposts, now worried about online learning. Online learning too. You couldn't make this stuff up. No, you can't make any of this stuff up, because none of it seems to make much sense at all. With public school districts nationwide beginning to cancel in-person learning for the fall semester in answer to COVID-19 transmission fears, a number of teachers' unions already are moving the goalposts. According to the New York Times, educators in the hard-hit states of Florida and California might be wary of returning to class this back-to-school season, but that concern hasn't stopped them from shooting down alternatives such as virtual learning. Yeah, they just don't want to work. Really. Widely promoted as a logical alternative to traditional learning, online video instruction was a go-to for many public institutions when coronavirus-related lockdowns first took effect in late March. Several major teachers' unions now argue, however, that the practice was stressful, distracting, and detrimental to learning, and they want to see their educators provided with alternatives or a reduction in labor hours this fall should viral learning become the standard. Railing against such requests Friday, Corey DeAngelis, the director of school choice at the Reason Foundation, a nonprofit libertarian think tank based in Los Angeles, told the Western Journal that the teachers' unions moving of the goalposts with regards to reopening is almost beyond parody, perfectly highlighting a deep need for competition in the primary education sector. Oh yes, big time. You have the unions getting what they want in the sense that they're pressuring state and local governments not to reopen the schools for in-person learning. And now you have them pushing the line a little further once they got what they wanted on that end, DeAngelis said. Now the argument has changed to be about what the remote learning is going to look like. You shouldn't make this stuff up. Or you couldn't make this stuff up, he added. They're just pushing the ball down the line a little further. Presented as a primary concern among educators in the Times report was the potential for lessons via video conference, a way to give students distractions or to give way to student distractions or technical difficulties. Celia, I don't know how you pronounce that name, Myart Cruz, president of the United Teachers Los Angeles, a major union in the nation's second largest school district, told the outlet that she believes students will turn off far more quickly to live virtual lessons than they would for in-person learning. She has advocated against a traditional 8-hour school day this fall as a result. I don't know, I've done a lot of distance learning, and actually I tend to learn better when you're watching your professor from home. You can sit there in your jammies with your feet up, drinking coffee, all comfy, cozy. Well, that's just me, maybe. All right. Of the remaining concerns voiced by various unions nationwide, few pertain directly to student access or wellness. While some advocated for at least several hours of virtual student-teacher interaction, others expressed discontent about having worked outside the hours outlined in their emergency teaching agreement this past spring to provide technical support and answer student questions. Oh, I had to answer student questions. Oh. You know, I don't know. My mom, I don't know. There's a lot of people in my family that are teachers. And teachers are far more respected up here than they are down there. But I'm telling you, they just don't seem to have the type of teachers that my mother was and people of her generation was. She cared about her students. I mean, she would stay, she would work with a student and work with a student and work with a student until she was sure that they could succeed on their own. And, you know, I don't get it. I mean, and my aunt, my mom's sister, is a teacher, and her husband is a teacher. They're retired now. And, you know, I've grown up with and even my mother's brother was a teacher for a while, didn't really enjoy it too much, left. But, you know, I've heard all these stories and how much they care for the students. And you just don't seem to get that too much anymore. Now it just seems like a paycheck, whereas before, my mother considered it a vocation. She considered that it was her duty. She was being paid, but she was being paid for something that she loved to do. And she had an interest in the children doing well. It just doesn't seem to be that way anymore. I don't know why. Anyway, so there you go. I don't know what is going on with the schools. I think the whole thing is really ridiculous, and I'm not going to read through all this, but it's just, I don't know. I don't understand why they're not in a vulnerable age group. So why can't the students go to school? I mean, the chances of them dying from COVID are slim to none. But anyway, okay. Oh yes, and let's look at this. This is Canadian news, but hey, Trudeau government launches voluntary COVID contact tracing app to keep Canadians safe and healthy. Yes, I bet he's really losing sleep on whether Canadians are safe and healthy. Yeah, that's sarcasm. The Prime Minister said the free app named COVID Alert is designed to serve as a tool to help limit the spread of COVID-19. Well, it must be limiting it because we haven't had, excuse me, I don't know where this, I have been so fatigued today, and I got lots of sleep. Well, I didn't get much sleep, but then I slept late morning to try and catch up for what the cats kept me up all night last night. All night. I don't know what their deal was. But I've been so fatigued today that it's just like I can barely drag myself around. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that I'm yawning. Anyway, so it says, Ottawa, Ontario, July 31st, 2020, Justin Trudeau's Liberal government announced today a previously promised national coronavirus contact tracing smartphone application that for now will be used by Canadians on a voluntary basis. Notice that they say, for now. It won't remain that way. The Canadian Prime Minister said the free app named COVID Alert is designed to serve as a tool to help limit the spread of COVID-19. Now, we haven't had any cases in this area since May. So, but we still have to wear our masks and all this ridiculous stuff. Okay. While we have made good progress over the last few months, COVID-19 remains a very serious threat to the health of Canadians. As we continue to gradually restart our economy, innovative technologies like this new app will keep our families and communities safe and healthy, Trudeau said in a press release about the COVID Alert app. The app will be the first available to residents of Ontario to use, with the eventual goal being to bring other provinces and territories on board in the coming weeks and months. Canada's new national COVID-19 tracing app was promised by Trudeau months ago. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has been urging for a national application for some time as well. In June, Trudeau first announced that the government would be rolling out a Made in Canada free national coronavirus contact tracing smartphone application to Ontario residents to test before going nationwide. Woohoo! Oh yeah! Woo! We get to be the first ones to test it. Whee! It was promised to be made available starting July 2nd, but was delayed. Well, of course it was delayed. This was Canada. Ah, my gosh. Talk about stating the obvious. Nothing runs as it should in Canada anymore. Could have something to do with our Prime Minister. Anyway, yeah. COVID Alert was developed by the Ontario government, BlackBerry, and Shopify, as well as the federal agency, the Canadian Digital Service. In the government press release about the launch of the app, Ford said he is proud of the Ontario-made app. I am proud of the fact that this Ontario-made app will now be available to individuals and families right across the country. It will be another powerful tool to help us stop the spread of this deadly virus and to keep people healthy and safe. I encourage everyone to download it onto your handheld device. Not a chance. It is free, easy to use, and the responsible thing to do, Ford said. Well, then I guess I'm irresponsible because I'm not doing it. I will smash my smartphone into a million pieces before I will download that app. So there. According to the government press release, the app is available for download in the Apple Store, in the Apple App Store, or the Google Play Store, and assigns a random code to a user's device that pings other users of the app via Bluetooth when they are within a range of appropriately 2 meters. If they test positive for the virus, users can choose to upload their random codes to a central server located in Canada. Once uploaded, the random codes are stored on the server for 15 days, after which they are automatically deleted. Sure they are. Sure they are. Although anyone in Canada is able to download COVID Alert, the app will only give a user an alert if they have been in close contact with an individual who tested positive in a province or territory that has the app integrated into its testing system, which is currently only Ontario. The federal government press release stated that COVID Alert is a collaboration between Health Canada, the Canadian Digital Service, the province of Ontario, and Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada. The news release goes on to say that the app has undergone a security assessment by BlackBerry, as well as the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, saying that all data provided to the app will be securely stored and protected. When first announced in June, Trudeau said the app would be completely voluntary. It will be up to the individual Canadians to decide whether to download the app or not, but the app will be most effective when as many people as possible have it. Today, he again stated the same message to reporters, saying, I want to be clear, this app isn't mandatory, adding it's completely voluntary to download and to use. Alberta was the first Canadian province to launch a voluntary coronavirus contact tracing application in May. The Alberta Health Services AHS AB Trace Together app. At this time, Jay Cameron, a lawyer for the Alberta-based Justice Centre for Constitutional Freedoms, told LifeSite News that the legal group is keeping a close eye on government-issued contact tracing apps. We are watching carefully and remain concerned about this slippery slope and government comfort with accessing and utilizing personal data, Cameron said. Cameron also told LifeSite News in May that observing people via a smartphone app constitutes a search. Monitoring someone's whereabouts using their cell phones is, of course, a search, Cameron said. Joe Clayton, Alberta's Information and Privacy Commissioner, raised concerns about the AHS AB Trace Together app, saying that Alberta government coronavirus smartphone contact tracing application does indeed run a security risk for users of Apple devices. Earlier in June, Alberta Premier Jason Kenney suggested the reason the app could not be fixed properly for Apple users was the federal government had told Apple and Google not to work with Alberta or other provincial governments on improving the Trace Together app. The Privacy Commissioner of Canada also today released a statement in which he put his support behind the COVID Alert app. Canadians can opt to use this technology, knowing it includes very significant privacy protections. Sure it does, said Daniel Therian, Privacy Commissioner of Canada, in the statement, adding that he will use it. Well, of course he will. Sure he will. All right. So, yeah, There you go. All right. Well, I think we still have some time. So, although I don't want to go too late because, well, as you can see, you know, the Sandman is starting already to visit me via yawns. So, let me see. Yes, here we are with this. This makes me very nervous. Very. Trump to mobilize military to deliver COVID vaccines to millions very, very quickly. Trump said that a military general is overseeing the logistics of delivering the vaccine once it is developed. And I don't understand why the military is involved. And I know. You say, well, they want to get it out really quickly to everyone. Washington, D.C., July 31st, 2020, amid growing concerns about the safety and efficacy of a COVID-19 vaccine, President Donald Trump has announced his administration is all set to march when it comes to the coronavirus vaccine, with a military general overseeing the logistics of delivering the still in development product. I think you're going to see something that's going to be spectacular, Trump said on Thursday. The FDA has approved things at a rate that's a tiny fraction of what it would take during another administration. We are way ahead on vaccines, way ahead on therapeutics, and when we have it, we're all set up with our platforms to deliver them very, very quickly, he added. Based on a senior administration official, Politico reported that distribution of any coronavirus vaccine will be a joint venture between the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which typically oversees vaccine allocation, and the Department of Defense. What could go wrong? Yeah, since we trust the CDC so much. While according to the official, the Department of Defense is handling all the logistics of getting the vaccines to the right place at the right time in the right condition, the CDC is tasked with tracking any side effects as well as some of the communications through the state relationship and the state public health organizations. On May 15th, President Trump had launched Operation Warp Speed in order to fast-track the development of a coronavirus vaccine, bringing together the best of American industry and innovation, the full resources of the United States government, and the excellence and precision of the United States military. Its objective is to finish developing and then to manufacture and distribute a proven coronavirus vaccine as fast as possible, Trump explained. In addition, it will continue accelerating the development of diagnostics and breakthrough therapies. At the time, he said the military would help in distributing the vaccine across the country, which has a population of some 300 million. Well, it's more than that. When a vaccine is ready, the U.S. government will deploy every plane, truck, and soldier required to help distribute it to the American people as quickly as possible. Ow! Ow! Hang on, I got a foot cramp. Have you ever? Oh my gosh! Charlie horse. Charlie horse. Ow. I should stop recording, but... Ow! Oh. Hang on. I think it's done, I hope. Oh my gosh, that really is painful. I don't know if you ever had Charlie horses before. Well, I don't know if you call it a Charlie horse in your foot. Probably not. I don't know if horses can fit in your foot. I don't know. Anyway, okay, when a vaccine is ready, okay, we read that. I lost my place there with all that. Still hurts. Dang it. Heck was that about? All right, we have the mightiest military in the long history of humankind. We have the best and most devoted workers ever to walk the face of the earth, and now we're combining all of this amazing strength for the most aggressive vaccine project in history. Trump clarified that there will be no mandatory vaccinations, saying that the new vaccine would be for those who want to get it, adding not everyone is going to want to get it. Now, that's all well and good. And I do believe that. I believe what he's saying, that it's not going to be mandatory, at least at first. But if different industries mandate that, well, gee, you know what? Yeah, you don't have to have the vaccine, but gosh darn it, you can't get in on an airplane without it. See, that's my concern. So, that was weird. Anyway. I think a cat must be sleeping behind me. Even though the president vowed to keep any coronavirus vaccine voluntary, observers have questioned the wisdom of fast-tracking the development. Environmental lawyer Robert F. Kennedy Jr. pointed out during an online debate on July 23rd that key parts of testing are being skipped. The Moderna vaccine, which is the lead candidate, skipped the animal testing altogether, Kennedy said. It was also tested on only 45 people. They had a high-dose group of 15 people, a medium-dose group of 15 people, and a low-dose group. It shouldn't be low-growth group. It should be low-dose group of 15 people. In the low-dose group, one of the people was so sick from the vaccine they had to be hospitalized, he explained. That's 6%. In the high-dose group, 3 people got so sick they had to be hospitalized. That's 20%. In spite of these significant problems, they're going ahead and making 2 billion doses of that vaccine. Another problem with the testing of the coronavirus vaccine is that it's not tested on typical Americans, but a carefully selected group of people who don't suffer from certain conditions. They use what they call exclusionary criteria, Kennedy said. They are only giving these vaccines in these tests that they're doing to the healthiest people. If you look at their exclusionary criteria, you cannot be pregnant, you cannot be overweight, you must be, well, my gosh, almost everyone in the United States is overweight. You cannot be pregnant, you cannot be overweight, you must never have smoked a cigarette, you must never have vaped, you must have no respiratory problems in your family, you can't suffer asthma, you can't have diabetes, you can't have rheumatoid arthritis or any autoimmune disease. There has to be no history of seizure in the family. These are the people they're testing the vaccine on. He asked what happens when they give them to the typical American. You know, Sally Six-Pack and Joe Bag of Donuts, who's 50 pounds overweight and has diabetes. Kennedy stressed several times that any other medicine that has that kind of profile in its original phase 1 study would be dead on arrival. No medical product in the world would be able to go forward with the profile that Moderna has, he reiterated. During yesterday's statement on being ready to deliver a coronavirus vaccine very quickly, Trump mentioned several vaccine developers by name, calling them great companies that are doing very well. Kennedy, however, is skeptical of these companies, referring to them as convicted serial felons. In the past 10 years, just in the past decade, those companies have paid $35 billion in criminal penalties, damages, fines for lying to doctors, for defrauding science, for falsifying science, for killing hundreds of thousands of Americans knowingly. It requires cognitive dissonance. Kennedy commented, for people who understand the criminal corporate cultures of these 4 companies to believe that they're doing this in every other product that they have, but they're not doing it with vaccines. Other observers have also raised ethical and moral questions about a vaccine that is developed by using cell lines harvested from aborted babies. A LifeSite news petition saying no to mandatory vaccinations has garnered more than 736,000 signatures and can still be signed here. So there you go. And that, I guess, is why they're giving them blanket immunity, so that you cannot sue these companies that are providing this vaccine that is right from the outset very flawed. It made people sick. And these are relatively healthy people. These are people that are not overweight, don't smoke, don't vape, don't have any respiratory issues, don't have rheumatoid arthritis, no autoimmune diseases. So, yeah, what's going to happen when an elderly patient takes this that already has several comorbidities? What do you think is going to happen to them? Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I don't think I'm going to, oh yeah, let's look at this little piece of ridiculousness before we go. $100 fine. Gatherings of more than 3 people on sidewalks banned in D.C. suburb Arlington County, Virginia over coronavirus concerns. Wow. I'll say it backwards. Wow. Gatherings of 3 or more people on sidewalks and street. My gosh. Gatherings of 3 or more people on sidewalks and streets were banned by the Arlington County Board on Friday to enforce social distancing measures to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 China coronavirus. Pedestrians could be fined up to $100 for that and for violating a 6-foot social distancing order. Arlington County is located in Northern Virginia across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C., with the historic city of Alexandria on its southern boundary. In recent decades, the county was transformed into a dynamic mix of young couples raising families, hipster singles, and immigrants, accompanied by strong business development. The 5 members of the Arlington County Board are all elected Democrats. Yeah, well, that kind of, says a lot, doesn't it? Says the Arlington County Board today adopted an emergency ordinance prohibiting groups of more than 3 people from congregating on streets and sidewalks. Can 3 people congregate? I guess they can, but anyway, they can't congregate on streets and sidewalks posted with the restrictions and requiring pedestrians to maintain at least 6 feet of physical separation from others on the posted streets and sidewalks. Violators could face a traffic fine of up to $100. In adopting the measure, the board cited the difficulty of securing voluntary compliance with social distancing requirements as coronavirus cases surge nationwide. I'm quite convinced they're just doing this to see how much we will take. So, anyway, that's enough of that. Oh, I like that. Look at that. That's a good price for that car, and I love the color. Anyway, I digress. Let's, I think I'm going to stop there. Let me see how long I've been going here. Oh, 51 minutes. That's long enough. It's time for me to go and minister to my pillow. Yes, it is. All right. Well, that is it for tonight, and I'll be back. So, not tonight, but I'll be back. So anyway, you guys have a wonderful evening. I appreciate you guys so much, and I appreciate the support, the prayers, the comments. I appreciate it all. I feel very blessed to have the listeners that I do. Don't know what I did to deserve you all, but thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next video. Good night, guys.